These are true payroll crime stories with your hosts, Brian Escobar and Walter William Duncan III.
Mystery at the Museum. In this payroll true crime story, we visit Chicago, Illinois, where Michael Murillo, or I like to call him Money Mike, embezzled over $2 million. Over the course of 13 years, he now faces 100 years in prison on 4 counts of fraud, 2 for bank fraud and 2 for wire fraud. Let's talk about how he did this and what we can learn from it. All right, folks, we have a special show this week for you. We're going to dabble in a little payroll true crime.
Nice, man. I'm excited for this, Ryan. Yeah,
It's
man.
been really a lot of fun to research for y'all. We found this case and we talked about this case a few episodes back. We mentioned it and it just sparked something in us and it was so interesting. We found so many other cases of payroll people defrauding their companies, and this is just like, these are the bad apples of the bunch. This is what not to do. So yeah, we're going to talk about these cases. This one in particular, we'll start it off, and what we've done for you guys is we'll broke it down into crimes and solutions.
Yeah, so solutions meaning what from a business standpoint, employer standpoint, what you can do to prevent this from happening, how to keep your people honest and keep them in check, right?
Yes, exactly right. So all of this, it sparked an amazing exercise that me and Walt went through to really break down all the charges, what this person did for their crimes and how they defrauded it. And then what we did was we tried to think of the solutions for it. Like, all right, how do you catch this in payroll?
Yeah.
Right? Like, because ultimately, we've been thinking about doing this particular show format for a few weeks now, probably a month or so.
Yeah.
And just thinking of it, I was like, wait a minute, it's really going to turn out to be a lot of audit, reconciliation, and data set comparison recommendations that come from this, right?
Yeah.
A lot of solutions to how to find it. And I was like, well, you know what? That's how we'll kind of be different about this. At the end of the day, it's fun to do the payroll true crime, but we're also going to, again, we do this for payroll people. So we're going to leave you with what the solutions are to look at in your data to police for these things, certain whatever errors or whatever things that we find in these cases, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And we want to hear back from you as well in case there's any other audits you can think of or any other ideas that you have that you think could assist in catching these things or preventing these things from happening.
Absolutely. Because payroll is definitely one of those things where there's many ways to complete and solve something.
Yes.
And they're all fine. You know what I mean? So so I think, without further ado, let's get into this particular case. It's the United States of America versus Michael Murillo, and he is being charged for 2 counts of bank fraud, 2 counts of wire fraud. And those counts, he's facing up to 100 years in prison.
Oh my God.
If convicted, we don't think he's convicted yet. But this is a really fresh case that we found, that Walt found really, and I think he's still waiting trial. We haven't found any follow-up information about conviction yet. So we were just kind of like speculating: is he out on bail? Is he being held? Like, but he's facing 100 years in prison, and he did this over 13 years for. You go ahead and tell him how much, Walt.
The total amount
is
over $2 million. So the exact amount is $2,308,772
that we can find over 13 years that they could find. And this case, they actually refer back to 2020, but it's like we're thinking about the year gaps, and we're like, wow, they must have had to put this case together. Clearly, they had to get the evidence together to convict this person, right, or to indict him and arrest him. The conviction comes later after trial, or unless he cops the plea and then just makes a deal or whatever. That could be what they're trying to figure out. And I'm just fascinated about this, and I'm gonna keep us updated. We're gonna look into it a little bit more and see if we can find out when he gets convicted, I'd love to know the man's story. Like, what drove this person to
Yes.
do this, right?
Yeah.
Over 13. And you would think family, stuff like that, but you never know. Who
Yeah.
knows? The reason why there was a few counts is he did like different, he did like 9,000 the first time and looks like maybe that was a low amount. And then after that, he did big amounts,
Yeah. Yep.
$63,000 and the straight wire transactions from,
Yeah.
get this, from their bank to his bank, like direct, like,
Mm-hmm.
so,
That's
and okay,
crazy,
so let's
man.
break it down, right? So let's break it down. What's the first?
The first
Mhm.
one.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first one is he made PTO termination payouts that were direct deposited into his personal account. So he made PTO payouts to employees that never accrued any time off at all, or he made additional payouts to employees that had previously been paid out already. So
Uh-huh.
that was one of the first things that he did. So
Okay.
yeah,
Got it.
that's crazy, man.
Yes. See, yeah, so you get that, right, folks? People terminated employees, and then we often, some depending on the company, they pay out the PTO. In
Mhm.
California, it's the law. In some other states, there's a handful of states that it's the law that you have to pay out PTO upon termination. But
Yeah.
some companies have it as their policy anyway. So that's what he
Mhm.
was taking advantage of on terminated employees.
Yep.
Now, what the indictment says, like, defines very clearly, and they basically established the bank fraud and the wire fraud,
Yeah.
right? What he did was he was changing the employees' direct deposit numbers. And that, is I come in this somewhere today?
Yeah,
Am I
lower.
jumping ahead? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, I only say it because he used this method pretty much in everything he did, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the
Mhm.
day, no matter how he was trying to flip it in the system or flip it in the batch,
Mhm.
no matter what, he was always changing their direct deposit number to get that money in his account.
Yeah, so he either changed it on the employee side or he changed it on the company side to his account.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay. So then in number two, right? They two, what was it? 2 and 4. They list them separately, but it ends up
Yeah.
being negative deductions, right, for different things. One was life insurance and one was tuition reimbursement.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And yeah, so he's using these negative deductions
Mm,
in employees' checks or terminated. He also did negative deductions with tax withholdings.
yes, man.
Huge red flag
Why do you say that?
because now you're messing with the government and that's you messing with the Fed. Like now you got the FBI involved, and FBI were involved in this case. They are
Yeah.
like this is federal charges,
Yep.
and the moment you do the tax thing, boom, you are now hitting federal charges for sure,
Yeah, man.
right? I think the bank fraud and the wire fraud got him there anyway, but
Mhm.
the tax withholdings, you messing around with the government's money, oh, they definitely.
Yeah.
So he used these different methods
Mhm.
to basically just move money around.
Yeah.
And again, he changed employees' banking to his personal account and then switched it back. He switched it back after he did the payment. So this guy was doing the most
Yeah. Like he was putting in so much effort
work. Yes.
over a 13-year period. Like, oh my gosh, man. Like, what the heck?
So,
Look.
and that 2 million, if you're wondering,
Mhm.
came out to about $120,000 a year extra.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was very significant. You're talking about that's tax. That's net.
Mhm.
That's net. That's not gross, and you're getting taxed on this. No, he's stealing money, so there's no deductions out of it. He
Mhm.
had cash, so that's like making 200 and something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? On top of whatever he was making on his job.
Yep.
He
Absolutely.
probably had a decent, 50 to 60, 50 to 100,000. It was not for profit. So who knows? The money's not always hot not for profits.
Mhm.
But he's making a decent living and then he killed it with this,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it was well worth it for him to do all this work. That was my point. Let's keep that. And then, so what else is he
Number
changed?
6.
It's number 6. He
Yeah.
reverse transactions in the organization's payroll system. So the payments would appear, not, this is not getting the money, but it's still fraudulent behavior. So it's still a
Mhm.
crime, right? And so in the payroll system, you make a transaction and then he went and tried to, like voiding a check basically.
Yep.
He tried to avoid all these payments that he did, avoid the checks.
All the transactions,
Yep.
the negative deductions, the payments, all these things. That means he would go in there and void it out.
Too much, way
Yeah.
too much. And then 7, he edited and altered reporting to conceal information regarding funds he misappropriated. Same thing. 6 and 7, kind of the same.
Yeah.
But he went as not. He's like not only just voiding the transactions, he's like trying to wipe out the employee profiles. He's
Yep.
changing names. He's changing addresses. He's doing the most.
He's trying to get rid of his footprints, right? And the system, like, okay, if I get rid of this, but that's the thing. There's always an audit trail in most of these systems.
Well, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about.
Yeah.
So, and then the 8, and then I jumped ahead. Sorry, guys, but like I jumped ahead. So the 8th one is that we listed out like he was doing all these little things, but somewhere along the line he got bold and was like, wait a minute, he discovered a wire, right? In my mind, he like discovered this wire function, right? Because even as a payroll person, for me, wires didn't come right away. It came like, I learned about it because it came up as a necessity, because it was a solution for like an emergency situation, like, and it was something that the controller or the CFO would step in and say, hey, we need to send a wire because of this payroll problem. It escalated. Brian, here, do this. And you learn that, oh crap, you can move money on a wire.
Yeah.
Right. It's not ideal because now you have to create a manual transaction. You have to record the transaction still. It's outside, so that's what he realized. So anywho, he wired, we'll talk about that later, the solution later. But he wired in 4 different accounts. I mean, 4 different times. And and it looks like he started out low, $800.
Let me just test it out. Let me just
see. Let me see. But the second time he went up to 62,000, almost $63,000 one time. Like, can you imagine? And then 30, almost 36,000. And these amounts are weird too, right? It's 36. Well, he probably try to make it look like it was normal business, right? Because if you round it out, it looks too obvious. Like, whoa, what's this $65,000 thing? So whatever, he was trying to be clever. And then a 35,000, and then a 53,000 was the last one.
Yep.
So he got bold in these. He needed something happened in his life. So this is like, I'm so curious to see what drove this over 13 years, to keep doing it. And of course, if you don't get caught, you get bolder. Like, hey, I'm going to do it. And what they say in the indictment and the article is that it was one question in 2020 that basically unraveled all of this.
Yep. One question.
Troll asks about one payment. And he lied about it. He panicked and was like, oh, it's a payroll test. I'm assuming he panicked, right? And just, oh, it's payroll testing. We were payroll testing. Da, 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 da. And then he ran back and tried to delete all of that and undo all of it. Because if it's testing, then you should leave it, right? It's something that you can flag and mark, and it didn't do no money moved, right? I say that all the time. Did any money move? Okay, great. Then it's very fixable if the money hasn't moved, right? It's just a transaction that you need to fix. It's right? It's just math or something, whatever. It's so anyway, so basically that is what is I'm assuming is what did it. Like, that really, the fact that he lied about that, he or she, our controller is a she, so I'm calling her a she. But he or she, their controller, whatever, unraveled it. And I guess, from there, just probably was looking more and more and put this whole story together.
Yeah.
And once you have a thread to pull on, then you know where to pull, right? And you know where to look for in all this.
Yeah. So let's talk about the solutions for these crimes that he committed and how employers or managers can help prevent some of these things from happening or find some of these things that may be currently happening right now.
Oh gosh, I hope not. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you're right. You should. So again, these solutions, we should build these into our quarterly, you can do quarterly, you can do biannual, you can do annual sometimes, depending on what it is. But, if you don't do them now, you probably want to do a bunch of them to get just out the gate.
Yeah.
And just get a good baseline. Like, all right, nothing's going on. So yeah. So anywho, these are, and a lot of times, like I tell folks in payroll, well, what do you audit for? What do you look for? I'm like, whoa, there's some things to look for, of course, but we look for what the company suffers from, right? If the company has an issue here, that's what we look for. That's what we try to so every company has its own issues and nuances. So that's kind of what you look for the most part. Of course, there's some baselines, right? And I think that's what we want to talk about in another show is like best practice.
Yeah.
No matter what you look for, this should be on your list, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So these are some of the things that just came as a result of this particular case and these crimes. Okay, let's talk about it.
So for the first crime, the PTO termination payouts, we came up with 3 different solutions. For these. So number 1, conduct a manager review of budget or labor cost.
Yes. So what we mean is you'll see it if you're a manager of a team. You have 4 people on your team. You kind of know where your PTO is fluctuating. If you see your budget in detail, right? Hey, last month your team used this many regular hours and this many PTO hours. But if you know, wait a minute, nobody went on PTO last month. Why do I have 100 hours of PTO here? Boom. There's your red flag, right? As a manager, you need to pull on that because that is what he was doing. He was paying PTO out to terminated employees or if that either, again, didn't have any accrued or had already been paid. So if you're a manager looking at your budget, it could be, it's not the only one. And that's why we have other solutions. And what's the next one?
Compare data sets, PTO balances versus pay history. And we have a note about a higher level review here.
Yes. So yeah, because at the higher level review comes in like the same person. See now, Michael Murillo couldn't have done Money Mike over here. Couldn't have done that meaning he shouldn't be the one to run that report and this data set comparison because he's the one doing the crime.
So let me ask you this, just a quick note in here, right?
Of course.
If there's a corporation or an establishment that payroll seems to operate in a silo, because it seems like that's what Michael was doing. Operating in a silo. What could have been done in this case? Because is that a structuring issue?
No, it's just appointing somebody to keep him honest, right? Trust, but verify.
Yes, sir. Those famous words.
So I trust my people, but I peek behind in the system to see what everybody's doing. And honestly, I do it to protect my people. Like, hey, let me make sure they're not messing up and doing some stupid stuff in here that looks stupid.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I'm trusting you, but I also have to keep the integrity of the data set to a high standard. So you need a higher level review. In our dynamic right now, we get to validate each other's data and make sure, hey, you're doing the right thing. Oh, make sure you're doing the right. Anyway, it's a second set of eyes. So it should be a supervisor over. This guy's a payroll manager, right? It's a small shop. If they have a controller, that controller should have been pulling certain reports, high level review every now and then to make sure things are going good.
Yeah, that's why it's important sometimes, right, to have reporting outside of payroll in some cases.
Absolutely. Especially with payroll, you need checks and balances.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to be reviewing the work there. So this report, this compared data set is PTO balances because somewhere these PTO balances exist by employee, right? So you can get a list of those and then you compare it to the pay history. So if you're doing it monthly, same thing on the manager review of the budget labor. Like, okay, we have 10 people that terminated last month. They had a balance total of 1,500 hours, but now I should only see $1,500 of paid PTO paid out to these terminated employees. Right. So, and then you could even break it down even further to the active and all that, have this list. But that is how you would have caught this because the person would have said, wait a minute, no. There's only $1,500 to be paid out, but 1,600 went out. Payroll history is non-fungible. Once that record has been created, you can't change it.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about in another audit where another place is that it can't be changed, right? Absolutely. So that's so the next one.
The next one for number 1, the last one. PTO accrual comparison, actual versus accrual.
Same thing. We're looking at that terminated payout balance, right? But this one is probably coming from your accounting team, again, controller. Most companies will accrue for PTO as well. for their employees because they need to project that liability, right? They need to, your system has X amount of PTO balance today, but the accounting team is worried about also how much PTO we're going to pay out next month, the next month, the next month, and the next month. So with that being said, they're tracking this, right? They may have they may have it. It depends. I'm not saying but if they are, then they can be another line of defense in this policing in this of data, right? And that's where they would be able to catch it. They would look at actual first accrual and they would see something off and they would pull, like, I remember one of my accountant that payroll accountant. Well, she wasn't on payroll accountant, but when I first learned payroll, she was amazing. I used to call her annoyingly efficient. But she was and a sweetheart of a person, but still just shout out to Jali. You ever hear this? And she's just amazing accountant and really pulled those threads like, hey, I see this is off on this account. And sure enough, I probably did a transaction. I would find, oh, yeah, it's this, it's that. Oh, thanks, because I forgot to put the manual thing in to offset it. That's what keeps the team honest. So, anywho, let's go to the next one.
So the next is for numbers 2 and 4, which is the negative deductions, the tuition and the benefits, stuff like that. So the first solution would be to compare data sets, the benefits database versus payroll history.
Yes. Okay. So remember, guys, this is the crime that he did here was he used that life insurance, negative deduction life insurance, and a negative deduction tuition reimbursement, whatever. But again, these amounts live somewhere else on a list, right? Your benefits team is managing this list and saying, hey, next month, these employees get this amount taken. So for that life insurance, there's going to be a control number, meaning that number is what should come out next month. And it's, anticipated. Here's the number. We know it for sure, right?
Yeah.
Payroll history is going to show, it should show the same number. We say, right. So that benefit list that somebody's managing out because, hey, here are my employees that are taking advantage of this benefit. Somebody is managing a list, I promise you. And then your payroll history is going to shoot out is going to record the transactions of all the paychecks you cut. So he's messing around in people's paychecks on negative deductions on the life insurance and on the tuition reimbursement. So it's going to come out. This is a straight comparison of two data sets. You will get an outlier. You will get a delta when these 2 points are compared. They should be the same, and they're not going to be. Okay? So that's how you would catch these type things. And if you're looking even if he's tried to delete and undo these things, you will still be able to find it. Okay.
All right. So moving on to the next one, it is the negative tax deductions, right? So the first solution we have is to verify FICA globally. And you want to, because when you do this, you want to consider that if you have any high earners, if some of the people that he did the tax deductions on were high earners, well, you may have to consider the cap limit for some of those or whatever.
Yes.
Social Security.
For Social Security and Medicare,
Yeah.
Social Security. So just to call it out, right? Social Security, they're hit a cap on what was deducted. So you got to factor that in. But on Medicare, they will break a threshold where they start getting more money. So those are the 2 things that Walt is talking about that you have to keep that in mind in this comparison.
And then the next solution that we said is, again, comparing data sets. This can be the statement of deposits, your payroll history, your GLs, or your 941s versus the bank.
Yes. That's where the money's at. So this is a really good one. So 3, what did he do again for this one? 3 we have as, negative tax withholdings. Yes. So and just to go back to what was saying on the verify FICA globally, meaning FICA is a set it's a set percentage. So if someone's messing around in there, it's going to jump out in the FICA calc, in the FICA check, because it's a set. If you tell me how much you grossed, I'm going to do a number. It's 6.2% for Social Security, double it for EE and ER, and then it's 1.45% for Medicare. double it for EER, right? So I'm going to know right away what your FICA looks like. Now, if you show
Yep.
me your high earners and where we're at with their year to date, I'm also going to be able to break that number down. And I can tell
Yep.
you to the penny or within pennies
Yep.
exactly what your FICA should be. So if
Yep.
you messing around with my FICA, it's going to jump out right there.
Yep.
Okay. That's what Walt is saying with that verify FICA. Now, with the comparing data sets, let's see. We statement of deposits, payroll history, or 941s versus the bank.
So I think what we said here is that money went out from the bank. Right?
Yes.
So
yes.
no matter what the process he did, no matter, right?
Yes.
The bank is going to be true.
Yes. Thank you,
Right?
sir. Yep. That's exactly right. The bank is not going to lie. He can't undo the bank. And that's what I was saying. That's a payroll record that your payroll people can't touch. We cannot touch the bank. Right? We can't undo the information that came out of the bank. Now, it's hard to reconcile because the bank doesn't know by employee. Right? But the bank had a withdrawal. If you have it somewhat set up somewhat decently, you could at least tell that, okay, when I ran my last payroll, it was $100,000 all in, and that's what came out of the bank.
Yep.
Right? But if he's messing with the payroll records, it looks like something else when I look back on that time.
Yep.
It's not gonna be $100,000. It's gonna be whatever the heck he did there. Plus or minus in that $100,000 mark, right? So you're gonna be off. You're gonna see a bank 100,000, and now you have to tick and tie by person. Now the investigative part comes in because it's from the bank only. It's harder because you don't have the details at the bank level. It's just a lump sum amount coming out of your account.
Yeah.
Right. So this is actually a great call out for owners, being that we're fresh off that and fresh kind of in that season still, to manage their payroll account separate from their operating accounts. So a lot of good setup is that way, right? Your money for payroll comes out of one account and it's exclusive to payroll. So that you know beyond anything that that's only payroll activity money. So so it makes it a little easier to do these data set comparisons if and when these things were come up. Because if it's if it's mixed in with everything, then you don't know what happened that day. It could be $100,000 to a vendor that we had to pay. You know what I mean? Or whatever. It's just, I mean, even though there's record on that, but you got to do more separating on that side. So it just makes it harder, right?
Yeah.
So that's a great call out for this one. And I feel like we mentioned again later.
Yeah.
But right, the bank, because you can't change the bank. So if this guy's whoever is changing all that crap in the system, the bank cannot be changed. All right, cool.
All right. No, so the next one, no, you're good. So the next one is that the solutions for number 5 when he changed the employee banking to his own personal account and then reverted it back. So we have 2 solutions for those, right? So the first one is to compare direct deposit account numbers within the same database. And then the second one is to check account numbers between the pay system and the ACH file.
Yes. So this one made me really, I got excited with this one because, again, it was really fun to figure out where I love playing Sherlock Holmes with payroll, right? I'm a big Sherlock Holmes fan and I love doing it, whatever. So within this, okay, so let's go back to what he was doing. He was changing it before and after the transactions that he was making.
Yep.
Right. So if he wasn't doing that, within the same data system would help. Within the same data set, you would find probably duplicates.
Yeah.
Right. If he's changing people's direct deposit to match his, you're going to find duplicates. Yeah. And guess what? Some of you might say, well, why doesn't the system give us a red flag for duplicates? Because think about it. You could have a married couple that works there that uses the same account. So you have to allow duplicates. Now, in a smarter system, though, there should be an alert. Right? Maybe we can add, and that could be the RFP that we go out and we ask our systems, hey, we want an alert when we're entering a duplicate. We want to be told this is a duplicate direct deposit, and here's the other employee that has it, or here's the list of them. Without that, you can just compare, right? You pull up everybody, you try to get all your lists, and if it's in Excel, you just show duplicates. Boom, done.
So let me ask you a question, Brian.
Sure.
Could the notcher file be used?
So that's the next one. That's the check it between different databases. So now that's the catch. Thank you, Will. That is the catch. What he's doing, he's going in and changing it back and forth so that you don't find it when you compare within the data set.
Yep.
You won't find it because when you go back, he's changed it all already, right? You would have to catch him such in a good timing. You have to do it every day to catch him.
Yep.
Okay. So your point right there, you now to catch what he's done, you have to compare your data set to the notcher file, the bank file that the bank establishes and sends out. Because the bank needs to know, right? Hey, you're giving me $100,000 to pay 1,000 people. So how do I do this? Right? They need a file that breaks that money down by employee, but it's by their bank account number because that's all the bank wants, right? The bank doesn't care about all that other information. They literally just want the bank number, the routing number, and the bank account number.
Yep.
Right? That's how we get paid, direct deposit.
Yep.
So that's all that's on file.
Yep.
So what you would do is compare it. And that right there, that nailed him right there. That definitely was what nailed him.
Yeah. And there's some systems nowadays, some of the big boy systems, when you make a change on an employee level to their profile, the employee gets an alert, right? So that could be, so if the employee gets that alert and they notice it, if you're an employee and you get that notice and you didn't change it in the system, that should be red alert for you to reach out to an HR professional, payroll professional, somebody at the corporate level, whoever is responsible for these changes, and go ask them and say, hey, somebody went in there and changed it. I didn't do it.
Yep. That's it. And I'm so glad you said that because I just recently changed something on one of my splits. And I immediately, as soon as I hit save, I got a text and an email and everything. Your direct deposit information was just changed.
Yep.
So if you have that type of system, it's awesome. This guy was definitely dealing with a low tech solution stack. Just straight no oversight.
Yep.
To that point, there is a notcher file. It may be hard to get. You may have to ask bank account for a bank system. But either way, you want that in CSV, right? You want that in an Excel file so you can compare it to your data set of employees' bank account information. And then you would have found that multiple employees that day got this and paid to the same account.
Absolutely.
And that's what he was doing. He was changing the bank director. No matter how he did it in the batch on the pay stub, it all ended up in his direct deposit, in his bank account via that part. And then that's why he's charged separately because they make a point in the indictment to define direct deposit, to define what he did and all the fraud. That bank fraud, wire fraud.
Yeah.
So, but great call out. And that's exactly how you would find either fraudulent behavior, again, within the same data set or comparing the two data sets, the second one being the notcher file.
Awesome, man. So number 6, this is the reverse transactions. When he reversed different transactions in the payroll system, payment did not appear as taxable, right? So we originally had one for number 6, but I kind of tied the second one for number 7 to number 6 as well.
Okay.
So the first one would be compare data sets. So basically payroll history versus bank reconciliation.
That's it. Yep. The bank again.
Yeah. Because as we said, the bank will always remain true.
Yep.
And number 6, there's always going to be an audit trail. So no matter what he does in the system, there's going to be an audit trail on some level.
Should always be. It depends on what kind of system. Okay. Yes. I'm accounting for that. Maybe there's some archaic system somebody might be using out there that doesn't have an audit trail report.
True.
Folks, if you have that system, just let me know what that is so we can tell everybody to stay away from it. And then please beg and plead and let them listen to this episode. Like you have to make an investment that whatever payroll system you're using, let me rephrase, wherever you're holding your employee data, your pay wages, your rates and wage and tax and all that information, that profile that builds your payroll. Because let me quote our colleague, Anita Letink, I hope I pronounced it right, Anita. In her book, How to Select Your Next Payroll, The Ultimate Guide. An amazing quote, the amazing statement. Payroll starts the moment employee data is entered or changed in the HR solution. Okay, let that sink in again. Payroll starts the moment employee data is entered or changed in the HR solution. Okay, so just that's what you want to audit. Your benefit changes, your direct deposit information. You want to be able to audit any of that information that's in that profile. If your system doesn't do that, man, please, I'll help you. You know what I mean? You guys need, right? We all need a system that we can run an audit trail report out of.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So that's why he's, Walt is saying it like matter of fact, but we need to discount for the fact that maybe there's a place not in the system that guys don't have an audit trail. Yeah. All right. Sorry about that.
Thank you, sir. So number 7, as I stated, we only had the one resolution or solution for this one. But number 7 was what he edited and altered reporting.
Yes.
So somebody asked him for an audit. Somebody asked him for a report on something that happened. Before he sent it to them or delivered that report, he edited the information and fudged it, as we say, and created false looking data, right, to try to cover his tracks. So for number 7, we only put the audit trail and the payroll system. So what else could we do?
That would require, I don't know, you gotta, again, trust but validate, right? If I'm in the habit of running my own reports, of course, but even if I'm sure we'll get to the point where somebody's delivering me a report that I have to depend on.
Yeah.
I'm going to validate that report.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I had a CFO and a past employer. He was known for asking 2 people in the same department to run the same report.
Oh, wow.
Yes. To compare data sets, so compare what this one person was giving them versus what another person was giving them, right? And so he said it was just to keep things honest.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. Why not? I mean, that's a way.
Yeah.
It's a way. What else we got?
Then the last one is not really a solution. It's more so we just wanted to speak to the amount per account, which we kind of spoke to already at the beginning. So I don't know if you want to rehash that or.
Oh, no. I mean, well, we got to call out here. It could have been caught in a bank versus payroll history audit.
Yeah. Okay.
So if somebody's looking at the bank, it's a pretty easy eyeball too. If somebody's looking at the output at the bank account and the output of payroll, they should, in this case, they wouldn't have. He pulled in any one case more than $10,000 at one time out of the payroll account.
Yeah.
So again, if you're looking at what went out in payroll and you're comparing it to what went out in those history, right, the actual pay history reporting, then you'll see it was 10, 60, 50, $35,000 more out of the bank than what was paid in payroll. So that should have been an easy eyeball, like somebody, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So yes, you're right. It should have been an easy eyeball, but he was probably, like you said, he was probably lying because the indictment, it did state that the bank account that the company had, his personal account was the same bank. So my point for saying that is that he probably covered his tracks because, it's this bank account is the same or the router number is the same. So he probably, whoever had oversight, probably didn't question it because, it's this account.
Or maybe, like you said, he changed some info.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So not only am I curious about this guy's life and why he did it, I would love to hear the museum's or this organization's story of how it happened for 13 years.
Yeah.
13 years. Like, folks, that is.
And this is in the digital age.
Yeah, for real. Because it happened after 2000.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel bad, but it seems like egregious negligence on the oversight. And if I'm wrong, please reach out and just correct me. I'd love to hear. You can be on the show. We'd love to talk to you, anybody involved in this case, as we continue to research a little bit more. And we'll give you an update on this, hopefully on the next time we do the true crime Payroll, we had a lot of fun prepping for it.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it was great prepping for it.
So,
And then,
share your thoughts. We want to hear back from you on this episode to see what your thoughts are. Was it informative? Did it make you think about things to potentially look out for? Any pitfalls that, are you operating in a silo? Is your payroll department operating in a silo?
Great.
Is your accounting or finance department operating in a silo? Like, these are different things. Like, people who have this level of influence, like this payroll manager in this case, you need to examine how you have things structured, and are you keeping them honest and yourselves honest?
Yep. One of the great quotes and statements and things that I kind of think about in payroll a lot is power corrupts absolutely.
Yep.
And that's this person had absolute power over his payroll. He was corrupted by it, period. And now he's going to most likely, he's 56 years old, by the way. We didn't throw that out. Yeah, sorry. I'll give you little nuggets here. It's in Chicago. Again, we don't know if he was convicted yet. He's facing up to 100 years in prison. This power just corrupted this to the tune of $2.3 million, probably $2.5 million, over 13 years.
Jeez, man.
Again, 56, man. He's young. He's a young man still, and he's most likely going to spend the rest of his life in prison. You know what I mean? Or definitely his whatever good years he has left.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not worth it, right? It's definitely not worth it on the payroll front to do this, and you will never be able to fraud enough to make this worth it.
Never.
You know what I mean? And in this day and age, like, please, you can make $1 million on YouTube. Like, you got a better chance than successfully frauding your company. You know what I mean? And again, it just makes it bad for payroll people because you need to be trustworthy in payroll. You have to be radical transparency, radical honesty in payroll is required. It maddens me, these cases, but it is few and far apart, thank God, because for the most part, people audit and people have oversight over their payrolls. Constantly ask questions and things like that. That's why I never get mad when I get asked a question. It's an opportunity for me to deliver. That's all it is for me. And if something's wrong, like, hey, I want to fix it.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of these systems nowadays, especially the big boys in the payroll world, they have the audit trails that they have. It shows down to the person, who made the change, right?
Absolutely. Yep. The moment they made it.
Are these reports, are these tools, these resources being utilized?
Yes.
That's the key point, right?
Leverage technology.
Yeah.
Leverage your technology. As a good payroll person, you should be able to building solutions and leveraging your technology.
Yep.
Right. And if you're not, hang on, guys. We're going to teach you how.
Yep.
For sure. Yeah, more to come, man. Hopefully you like this episode. Again, we had a ton of fun prepping for it. And yeah, that's about it, right?
It's a wrap. Yes, sir.
It's a wrap, man. We love you guys. Thank you so much. See you next time.
Yeah, stay tuned for the next Payroll True Crime.
Word.
These are true payroll crime stories with your hosts, Brian Escobar and Walter William Duncan III.